Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome to the second short video where we ask ourselves, what other franchises would work with G.I. Joe?
The first, if you'll recall, was the A-Team, and the answer was a resounding yes. This time, the question is, would Indiana Jones work with G.I. Joe? Indiana Jones, the Nazi-punching, adventuring, womanizing archaeology professor who doesn't do much professoring or archaeologing.
What? Those are words.
So, would he fit into the G.I. Joe universe?
And the answer is... maybe, possibly, but it would take a lot of mental gymnastics and shoehorning.
Practically speaking, it's very easy. There were toys in the 80s that were the same size as G.I. Joe, and when Crystal Skull came out, there was a toy line in scale 2 with some excellent Indiana Jones figures. So you can plop him right into the G.I. Joe team.
Yeah, it's about the only good thing we got out of that movie, the toys that came out.
The biggest problem is with the timeline of the Indiana Jones universe. His adventures were in the 30s, and unfortunately also in the 50s, so he can't just show up in the 80s or in our present time.
Unless...
and hear me out here, we changed the story a bit. You could basically pull a Captain America with him. After the Last Crusade, have him frozen after fighting some Nazis. Maybe some experimental Nazi cryo-freeze thing that was used, I don't know, with a mysterious new substance that allows frozen subjects to survive. I can only wonder what a frozen Indiana Jones would look like.
It's just so hard to imagine any kind of visual for that.
So, now we've solved the time period problem, eliminating Crystal Skull as a side effect.
You're welcome, world.
But I'm afraid the problems don't end there. You see, Indiana Jones was never a big fan of authority and doesn't work in a group. Sure, he's had sidekicks, but he's never been much of a team player. And while it's likely he'd have joined the army to fight Nazis, I mean, why not get paid for doing something you were doing as a hobby anyway, I don't see him joining the Joe team in the present day. At best, I think he'd accidentally run into the Joes on occasion, or he'd be more of a consultant for them.
Come to think of it, I don't think I know of any character in G.I. Joe that's a direct rip-off.
And this is Hasbro we're talking about here. We've seen them copy everything from Captain America to Jurassic Park, so I don't know how Indy slipped through the cracks. Moving on, there is one additional problem.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
This guy is afraid of snakes, and we'd be asking him to join the fight against an organization whose whole everything is serpent-based. And Cobra has used plenty of real snakes in their time. Now, it could very well be this just motivates him even more to fight the bad guys, but I still think he'd prefer to do something else with his time.
Hell, he could just go fight some other bad guys from the time.
Like Venom from Mask, for example, who also have a snake logo. Okay, fine, fight Skeletor then, who lives in Snake Mountain.
You know, I'm starting to think that snakes being symbols of evil was just a tad overused in the 80s.
In conclusion, if you really wanted Indiana Jones in the Joe team, I guess you could make it work, barely. But there are just too many hoops to jump through to get him there. I'd say let him stay in the 1930s. Even though that means Crystal Skull still happens. Shia LaBeouf and all.
Duh. Well, see you next time, everybody.